Hi everyone. Wow, so much is going on out there. I can barely keep up. It's just crazy. But what I've been obsessed with is the Diddy trial. And I've been doing the Trump dance ever since November 5th. And I just want to say to everyone, all you Americans out there, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I'm starting to understand everything that I've been kind of been hoping for the last 8 years since I kind of flipped in a way of understanding what was going on in my reality. And one of the things that awakened me way back when Trump got elected the first time was how the media changed the script on how they perceived Trump. And I've always been fascinated by that. And of course, up in Canada here, we only get extreme leftist media. So I started going into a deep dive and I started chatting with people on Discord that were Trump supporters to help awaken or make me have a better understanding of what was going on. And of course, I got into the 17th letter movement and I was involved in that movement right from the beginning of it and chatting with people all around the world. And this started my big quest of knowledge, esoteric knowledge. And really, I had the time in my life at that point to be able to do that. So now it's coming into full circle fruition on what that movement was predicting. And, I kind of had my doubts about it along the journey because, it didn't seem like it was happening. But it's definitely happening now. So I want to get into this and I want to go into a bit about Diddy and Diddy's Saturn return chart. But this also ties into my book and things about rituals that's been going on through Hollywood and how these things all have some esoteric meaning to it for our own ascension. And I do think I'm getting closer and closer to understanding the layers of history in the sense that there has to be a retribution for the British coming in and taking over, trying to take over the Patriots back in the War of Independence and how they eventually infiltrated in through the banking system, through the Federal Reserve. All that's all tied to the Titanic. I don't want to get into all that, but I just want you to understand that the French have a huge contribution to the independence of the United States. And there has to be some retribution with Quebec because many times the US patriots tried to come up and free Montreal from, the British and they failed. And somehow I am convinced that this has to be rebalanced. Okay, so that's the long story. But what's exciting is all this little stuff that's coming out now about Diddy, it's all kind of tied into all this, okay? Because it's all biblical and who he is. Now, he saw himself as the Joker back in 2022. And if you haven't been following his trial, um, you need to do that because it's crazy. Like you can actually like listen to the judge um, speak directly live. Okay, what's going on with his trial and all the things that he's been doing, and recently, um, he has a new bail hearing actually on Friday. So he's trying to get out. He's trying to do all these legal things, and it's really interesting to follow. But more people have actually been submitted into the case now, and you can find out exactly what happened to them all through the lawyer case. So it's fascinating. I feel like we're in like this modern day soap opera, but it's not funny because there's victims. So they need their justice. So Diddy goes out on Halloween night and he dresses himself up as uh, basically the Joker. And so we kind of know who the Joker is, right? There's always speculation. Sometimes, people think Trump's the Joker, but now that I understand Diddy and what he's been doing and how he's tied to blackmailing people in Hollywood to his videos, and he's been blackmailing politicians, and what he does, he basically meets you and gives you a drink, and then you pass out, and then you do all these weird things because he tells you to, and you don't have any control over your body. So it's really like creepy. Okay, so. Let's just break this down just quickly. I don't want to make this a long video, but here he is playing the role that he's fulfilled to play, and we're going to go into that. And here's the Avenger team coming to, clean up basically Gotham City, who he had the keys of New York to, right? The Diddy got the keys of New York from the mayor. They've taken them away recently. But, the Joker had the keys of New York, basically. And yeah, so here comes the A team. It's just like, I feel like we're in a movie. Like, it's just nuts. And yeah, they're coming to clean up the city. So, this all ties into the Freemasons and their role in their history books. Everybody has them pinned as bad people, and I think there are factions that have been doing nefarious things, but I do believe there's also factions that have been trying to do the right thing for, the populace. And I do think we have our new leader. Now, a lot of people think that, he's just scamming us and he's just going to do the wrong thing. But I'm telling you from, really diving deep into this Diddy thing, there's no way. Diddy had done a video um, saying how much he needed to get rid of Trump. Okay, so this was back, I guess, when he was elected before, and there's an interview with Charlemagne, and he basically says it. He wanted to start a black political movement, and he wanted to get rid of Trump. So you can see who the sides of the story, right? They're not on the same side. Okay, so now we have the whole Matt Gaetz thing. His wife posted this on Instagram. I believe her name is Ginger Gates. And this kind of goes to like back to the Matrix movie. Here he is in a prison in El Salvador. And this prison has cleaned up the crime rate in El Salvador with the new president there. And he basically put all the M13 gang members in this prison. And it's the most effective prison in the world. And there's a picture of him there. So it seems to me that is what's going to be happening in the United States. And this is why the borders need to be closed. And here's M13, and Trump talked about these, gang members that came up from South America that have been terrorizing the United States. They just come in freely, walk through, and same thing here in Canada. I think during COVID we had like 31,000 or people coming across, and now we have 200,000 just walking across the border. And they get shipped down to Toronto because they're not allowed to stay in Quebec um, easily if they don't speak French. So Quebec kind of is like pushing them off to the British Empire of Canada. So here we go. This is the 17th letter movement, and this was one of the posts back in 2017. And this was the saying, where we go one, we go all. Okay. And everybody thinks this movement was like, ridiculous, and a lot of people think it was just dumb, but what was great was it got people talking, and to people from all over the world. And I met a lot of just everyday people that wanted um America to become more righteous and to get rid of all the filth of the whole degradation of society that we've kind of gone into, the lowest form of society. Now, why is this picture so important? They all have, the 17th letter shirts on, but there's a prison here, right? It's called Gitmo, and that's where all the people that have been part of this, politicians, everything, are supposed to end up there. And that's what he said in this movement. He said they won't be able to walk the streets, and this is where they're going. And, people believed it, okay? But we have the A team now. and they're eating McDonald's. Why are they eating McDonald's? Well, that was with Trump when he was serving French fries at McDonald's. But um, McDonald's was also associated with sex trafficking. Okay, so this is what they're doing. They're cleaning up sex trafficking through the open borders, with all the children coming through and getting taken away from their parents and being sold, and then they can't find out, where they are. They just disappear. And there's been a tunnel basically coming through from Diddy's security guard, head of security. And now, if you look into the recent allegations that have just been put forth in the law by the lawyer Busby about Diddy and his security guards, they're part of the indictment now because they were involved in one of the cases. Now, the head security guard, I'm not going to say his name because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but you can do the research on it, used to work for Michael Jackson. And there was probably might have been some type of ritual initiation thing going on there. So anyhow, he owns a lot of acreage south of LA on the Mexican-US border, directly on the border. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of them were being trafficked through that, location. So now, then the whole fight with Mike Tyson. Now that's all tied to Tupac, right? Because Tupac died on the night that he was at the Mike Tyson fight. Now, the guy that beat Mike Tyson, he's a huge Trump supporter, the white guy, right? That won the fight. But it was so cool that part of this A team showed up at the ringside. None of this goes in the media, but I'm telling you, the crowd went crazy, right? With Elon Musk there and Kid Rock and everything. So it's just feels so surreal watching this. Like, I just can't believe it's happening. And there was this one comment, I was like on the couch, like I couldn't stop laughing last night, okay? Because they just announced that Dr. Oz is going to help run Medicare and Medicaid administration. And this is somebody, obviously extreme leftist, reading this, and he says, "Is this a freaking joke? I'm a medical professional, and I feel like I'm living in an alternate reality." And that's what it feels like to me. I feel like all of a sudden we're living in an alternate reality. There's so much stuff going on here in Quebec because we're tied to the Patriots, okay? Like, if you understand this, you have to read my book. It's $10, but I can't explain it all. I wrote 400 pages about all of this, the ley lines and the history on the ley lines and how this is all tied to the French and the US Patriots and how there has to be redemption for the French being stranded here, being under British control for all these years since the last Pluto return, right? When the US won the war. But here we are back with Pluto in Capricorn. And yeah, it has to happen. I know it will happen. Right now, there's things going on with the Quebec border. They're closing the borders at night, and they're putting the SQ police there, monitoring the borders. And there's no way we can sustain that over a long period of time. So I am convinced that the Trump administration are going to bring, um, you know, uh, protection up here, and eventually, they might come even further because there's a lot tying into the water of the, there's hacking going on with our water filtration, and that is actually maybe could be poisoning the US citizens, so there's a lot. Canada is just one big open border, and there's no protection for the US up here. So this all has to be fixed for this trafficking to stop. Now, Elon Musk had posted this. I can't remember what day he posted this. It was right after the election or before. And, this is why the 17th letter movement is real. Okay. It's not a joke. It's not, a conspiracy theory. It happened. The posts were very explicit on all that we're talking about right now was going to happen. And the fact that it's happening is just mind blowing. Okay, so now, um, you can kind of tell by other things going on, right? So here is Malcolm X's family. They filed $100 million lawsuit against the CIA, FBI, and the New York Police Department. So people have the courage now to kind of like say, like, look, there was some really shady stuff going on through the CIA and the FBI, and things were like covered up, and we didn't get the truth, and we want the truth now. Everybody wants the truth, right? Everything was supposed to come forth in 2024, according to Cat Williams, when he was talking about Diddy and the sex trafficking, okay? That all will be revealed in 2024. And, that's a golden number, right? 24 karat gold, and the Olympics and being in Paris, and it's all part of it. So here we have Elon Musk telling us, oops, sorry, hang on. Telling us, I just have to move my little thing here. Yeah. Elon Musk telling us that Pizzagate, you know, wasn't a conspiracy theory. And the hammer of justice is coming down. So even John Podesta, so they're going after everybody. And this is what the movement told us was going to happen. The hammer of justice is coming. It's not just for Diddy, okay? It's for all of the corruption that was covered. And these politicians did what this corrupt Joker said, because he had blackmailed them all, through videos. So it's quite crazy. The Joker was running New York City, okay, and Miami, okay. And this somebody had written a song. He's not a famous person, but you go check out the lyrics. They're amazing. They're, straightforward, explaining that, yeah, the devil dressed in red. This man, uh, took advantage of so many people, and I'm sure he's tied to murders as well. And when you really get into it. Now we'll do another video strictly on all the ties and who's on what team, who's on Diddy's team and who's on Trump's team. Okay, because you can pretty much see it really, you know, easily now. Okay, so Diddy's, he was a victim too, right? So he found his father had died from gunfight, which he was told before from his, so-called mother, but it's really supposed to be his aunt. Um, whatever. That his father was, I guess, a gangster. Okay, so he died from gunshot, and so he had no father growing up. And this is supposed to be his mother. She doesn't age, it seems. She's like, I think 80 now or 83. And supposedly they have intimate relations, okay? And you can tell just by watching videos of them interacting, for sure that's happening. She's very, very cozy. I think there's videos of them kissing right on the mouth, and he's always commenting on how beautiful she is. And yeah, so that's pretty much his relationship with her, and it's twisted. So I'm assuming, he was victimized by her into doing these things. So he thinks it's normal, right? So Janice originally told the rapper his father died in a car accident, but when Diddy got older, he discovered that Melvin was a drug dealer who had been shot. Okay, so I only exist because of my beautiful, hardworking, loving, hilarious, ass-whooping, always telling me the truth, genuine, smart, fly, and absolutely amazing black goddess queen. And I'm going to go into how this all ties into the black goddess queen and Halloween. Okay, stay with me through the end of this video. This ties into biblical stuff and kind of religion prophecy. The black goddess is the black Madonna, right? And it does tie to the date of Halloween. Okay, and that's when he dressed up as a Joker. And he's also SA'd people on Halloween. So he wrote in this caption of his post, "Happy 80th birthday to the best mother in the world. Love you forever and ever." And this is actually at her 80th birthday, no filter, no edit. So she's so beautiful, right? But she does creepy things with young people. So it seems, allegedly. So in this video message, Diddy went on to explain that the day is three times as special to him because his twins are also born on the same day as his mother. Um, and Naomi Campbell, the model, she's all tied in with him. And French Montana mentioned something about this post, but yeah, the date that they're all born is December 21st, which is the winter solstice. Okay. And if you've read my book, you'll understand how this all ties into the moon code. Okay. Did he receive his early Christmas gift? It gives him great joy to announce the arrival of Diddy's twin girls. This is when they were firstborn. Diddy also expressed unconditional love for his mother by naming one of his many businesses after her, Janice Cole Management. So all the copyrights for everybody's music that he had signed is in her name. Okay, so if he goes down, the wealth still stays, but he's kind of done some legal during there. So let's get into his natal chart. Okay, so I had to figure out when he was born just by kind of figuring out, his character. He has strong sexuality. So, when you have Jupiter and Venus in the eighth house, you're going to be very, very sexual. And they were almost conjunct when he was born. So high sexuality. And then the sun being there puts energy towards it. And his mind is all related to other people's energies, other people's money. So this is really needs to be here. And that's kind of how I figured out the time he was born. Would be 2:30 in the afternoon. But maybe he wasn't born then, but I'm just speculating. But I couldn't really, I checked it out and, tried to put everything in other places and it does, nothing lines up. To me, logically, this is the only thing that lines up. And he has power struggles in his relationships, okay? And he's a rebel and he's like, does what he wants in his relationships with power. His emotions are tied to in a way servicing people, like he's always trying to look like he's the good guy and he's helping everybody out, but in the meantime he's not. And then this Saturn lesson in the second house, you think, well, no, that would stop him from having money. No, it just means that he really wants security from money. He needs money for security. And a lot of times with this placement, people like to be CEOs and in charge of money. And he has the Chiron wound in his first house is all about himself. So he's wounded and he's spiritually wounded because it's in Pisces. Okay. This gives him tons of energy into networking with people. Okay. So he has really lots of responsibility and power because it's in Capricorn. And then Neptune in relationships in the higher mind. So this is all to do with kind of having an illusion with his relationships. And this is all tied to his higher mind. And his higher mind is in a very esoteric form in Scorpio. That's the way I read that. It's a quick reading there, but that's kind of how I saw it. So November 4th is when he was born. I have it at 2:30 on 1969. And his Saturn is in Aries, right? So this is about self. It's in Aries, even though it's in the second house on the wheel, in the money house, but it's actually in Aries where it's happening. And that's kind of on the head of the beast. Okay, this would be the beast. And they say this is the hand of God, but this is the beast. This is Sittus. Okay, so, it's yeah, he is the beast, basically. And it's all about him, okay? Which is his character. He's narcissistic. But yeah, so check this out. This is where I've made the Saturn return aligned to. I figured it out. And he has Chiron in conjunction with Saturn on his Saturn return. This is in 2028, but it's you can morph into your last return or your first return years before if you're like kind of needing to get there sooner, kind of like you got to work on yourself and you've got some stuff to work on, you can start to morph into it earlier. So the fact that it's 4 years, before his last Saturn return is irrelevant. It means that this is where he's going, okay? And this is what he has to deal with. He has Uranus conjunct with the sun, so very rebellious, and this is all in the money house, um, and Venus and Mercury there. And this is kind of like, this is in the Silver Gate, and this all ties to his third eye. So he's dealing with a lot to do with his money, but himself, there's always kind of this desire to, from his natal chart to want security from his money. But this is now the second Saturn return, and you can see again there's a wound now in this house of other people. This is where the Saturn Chiron conjunction is happening in Aries, now back in that house of sex and other people's money and other people's energies. So he has to change. When you have Saturn in the eighth house, it's you have to change, or it's for your detriment. Okay. In his relationships, there's like still sacrificial abuse kind of going on. Like either somebody's taking advantage of you or you're taking advantage of someone with Neptune there. It's kind of everything is kind of cloudy and it can be creative, but it's kind of there's some type of over giving from one's person in the relationship, and it's very emotional because it's in Pisces. Then his sun Uranus and Venus and almost Venus Mercury conjunction here. That's what I just showed you, all up in Taurus. That's all in his higher mind. So he has to um, basically change and heal for this to come into fruition for him to kind of get out of his problematic understanding of how life should be. And then his luck is pretty much running out. Anything in the 12th house takes luck away. So his luck of Jupiter is, it was in the other people's money before, and now it's in his dark night of his soul. He's got to like, do some soul searching here. Okay. And Pluto, which is your soul, is in creativity in his fifth house, everything he loves. There's power struggles about everything he loves, probably because he's going to start losing stuff and people that he loves. And there's positivity if he brings up into his higher mind, but negativity through the square here up into he has to change or else kind of thing. So you can kind of see this. Chiron is the wound healer. He has to heal, and Saturn is the task master. He gives you your life lesson. Okay, symbolizes structure, authority, and the need of order in your life. Okay, so with them two conjunct, okay, the wound and discipline. When Saturn aligns with Chiron in a conjunction aspect, their energies merge, creating a potent nexus of healing and discipline. This alignment signifies a pivotal moment of reckoning where we all are called to confront our deepest wounds and insecurities with courage and determination. While the conjunction may initially manifest as challenges or limitations, it ultimately offers a potential of profound healing and transformation. He has to transform. Whether he can manage to do that will be, up to him. Yeah, because he's done some pretty horrific things to people. So, eighth house. With this conjunction in the eighth house, themes of transformation, intimacy, and shared resources are emphasized. Individuals may confront wounds related to intimacy or shared resources, seeking to heal and transform patterns of betrayal and power struggles. That's it. That's Chiron in the eighth house. And so that's why I'm convinced that, the time is right for his for the natal chart at 2:30. It all aligns. Now, he lived next to the Playboy Mansion, right? In LA. And, Hugh had this thing every Thursday night. Now you got to remember Thursday is ruled by Jupiter. Okay, so um, there was rituals happening there every Thursday night, and they called it Pig Night. Okay. Um, And yeah, and there's bestiality going on and everything. You can go listen to the Netflix series of Playboy Mansion, and the girls talk about them getting drugged and all these. They were basically kind of like prostitutes, and he would invite, powerful people over and let them have their way with all the women. And yeah, sometimes they would make them, have the dog there and doing it, and really disgusting stuff. And yeah, he would just watch and record. This is way, way back before, cell phones. So they were wired to record everything back in those days. So yeah, this bribery and blackmail stuff's been going on for decades, like decades and decades. So yeah, so why is it called pig night? It's a from Proverb 11:22, and it's all about the gold ring put in the pig's snout as an adornment, is likened to a beautiful woman that has no discretion. That's why it's called pig night. Exactly. So it's all ritualistic. Now, this all ties back into the Paris Olympics. Now, why is this all important? I'm just going to touch on this a bit, but I have to do a deep dive on all these players because the fact that Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre were at the LA, closing ceremonies. These two, okay, they're on the West Coast team with Tupac, but these two, I think, are, you know, they swing either way with their sexuality. And Snoop Dogg is very, very close to Diddy now. And that's what Tupac was like. So he had a beef with him because he was convinced that um, you know, Diddy was involved with his first shooting that happened to him when he had the 5 wounds, like Jesus, right? And so he was really upset at Snoop Dogg for kind of like portraying him for still being friends with Diddy. And Snoop Dogg, I've watched videos of him saying that his kids grew up with Diddy's kids and they're very, very close. So he didn't believe maybe that Diddy was involved in it. I don't know, who knows? But the point is they're on Diddy's side. And Snoop Dogg had done a video with he had Trump in it, and it's horrific. Okay, and I'll save that for another video. But yeah, so now Flea, Red Hot Chili Peppers, were also playing at that closing ceremony for the Olympics. Now Flea, we know, is Donald Needles, and he acted in that role in Back to the Future movie where he said, "You're fired." That's where the whole "you're fired" thing came from. And I'll go into that more in my next video because I went down a rabbit hole with that again. It's like it keeps expanding, and I'm like, oh my God, now I understand who's who in the Hollywood industry because it's all tied to these sayings. Now, Flea, I'm going to talk about Flea later because it's also tied to River Phoenix, the actor who did a drug overdose. And now I'm kind of losing my train of thought here because I want you to understand Saturn at the moment is on the water of Aquarius. Okay. So everything is about the river, the water, the cup floweth over because Aquarius is holding the cup and he's Ganymede. He's, like I said in my last video, Justin Bieber, who is giving the ambrosia to the gods. And now Ganymede is fed up and he's spilling it over the earth like the truth. Instead of giving all this wine or water or ambrosia to the gods, it's now being spilled. Okay. So you have to understand everything's to do with water and wine. Okay. And just so you understand why the River Phoenix is so important, and it's tied to Halloween and Trump, and I'll get to that at the end of the video, but I just want to keep you understanding this is all to do with astrology. Okay, it's symbolic to what's happening in the sky right now. So yeah, so Diddy has this crazy huge tattoo on his back, And it's all to do with the Madonna and Child, right? Um, and there's two angels here, right here, okay? And this is actually, people believe this is the Haitian Madonna and Child, which has to ties into Santura and voodoo magic, okay? And they believe that he kind of cursed himself by putting this on his back. But he has strong Virgo in his chart on his last Saturn return. It's in his first house, and I'm just like, yeah, I just want to go back to that and show you that. Wait a second. Yeah, here it is. Doo, doo, doo. Okay, wait a second. Yeah, yeah, he has Virgo in his first house, so he has this really weird relationship with his mother, his so-called mother. Some people say it's his aunt, really. So, yeah. So he it's like he wants to act like he's in God's favor and he's the golden child, but yeah, he's not. He also has a crown up here on the back of his neck. I have another picture of that. I'll show you. But this tattoo, the Madonna and Child, yeah, it's on his back. And I wanted to go into this because it's known as the Dantor um, Izalii. It's all to do with Haitian voodoo, okay, in Haiti. Now, in August 14th, now this is weird because that's Obama's birthday, okay, August 14th. In 1791, this was the very ceremony that would spark the Haitian Revolution and transform the face of the country, the world, and voodoo forever. Okay, presided over Duddy Bookman and Cecil Fatima, a black pig was sacrificed at the ceremony, and the flames of the revolution stoked under Dantor's watchful eye. Within weeks, 1,800 plantations had been burned. So there was like this uprising in the plantation, and this is a woman that kind of started it all. Okay, and her name was Urzuli Danto. Okay, so the Danto is the Madonna child in Haiti. Okay, so um yeah, so they burnt 1,800 plantations, and rage of the enslaved was unleashed across the country. And at the heart of all this was the Mistress of Elise Dantor, a kind mother turned fierce revolutionary. Okay, so she was a mother, but she became a revolutionary because she just got so tired of what was going on with the enslavement of their children and, the family members, everything. Now, I know that tattoo on his back is definitely that because one of his victims, Dawn Richards, I believe she worked for him, she wears this suit in celebration of her Haitian ancestry. But yeah, this is definitely her saying, I'm the goddess, not you, Diddy. She's given a little clue there. And this is how they do it. This is how they communicate. It's all done through little, screenshots, little things that they say on interviews. And, then you kind of, when you start to know, like, okay, this person doesn't like this person, and then you start to go back and watch the interviews, you see the trail, like they're bashing that person all the way through their interviews, but really subtly, just little do 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 do. And there's some of them that have been bashing Trump for a long time, and now we know why. They all hate Trump because they're all tied in with the Diddy stuff, and they don't want it to come out, right? So this is what it's all about. So he's coming to clean house. So yeah, she was dressed in that costume. Now, I wanted to get into, I know it seems so long ago, okay, with the flooding, in Italy there. Hang on a second. I just went back too far. Okay, in Valencia, the flooding where all the people got killed. This is what I'm talking about, the water coming down. Now, the last video I did was all about the cup and how Justin Bieber's all tied to that cup of Ganymede, right? Now, this town has the Holy Grail in it. what they believe is the original Holy Grail, okay? The chalice. Now, in French, here when you swear, you say calice, okay? Which is, it's so funny. In French, all the swear words are all related to religion. It's like, it's hilarious. But anyhow, it's not hilarious, but it's just, kind of funny. So, so calice, the holy chalice, right? Is in this town. So, the cup runneth over there, but into a negative way. So that's what's going on. There's two factions. They take the symbolism and then they create fear and terror around it instead of it being holy and divine. So you have to kind of dig deep to find out, well, why would they do that there? Oh, okay, there you go. There's the Holy Grail there. Okay, so yeah, and this is all tied to the Last Supper, right? The Holy Grail, because it's the cup that Christ used to celebrate the Last Supper. Well, remember at the Paris Olympics, if you've been with me, when I did the decode on the Paris Olympics, they had Dionysus, but the media thought it was all the Last Supper. They said it was the Last Supper, it was Last Supper. Well, it was Dionysus, but people believed it was the Last Supper because it's tied to the cup. Okay, so this flooding is all part of that because it has to spill. It has to spill over. But in this case, they ended up hurting people with the spilling over instead of it being the truth or divine, right? And it's tied to the St. Lawrence. So it wouldn't surprise me at one point, St. Lawrence, the river actually floods um, because it was him that brought the cup. Um, yeah, he was the one that brought it to Valencia. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting that they have the St. Lawrence River named after him. Okay. Now, what are they saying here? It was November 8th, the Holy Chalice. During his November 8th visit, Pope John Paul II in 1982 visited Valencia. He kissed the chalice and called it a witness to Christ's passage on earth. Okay. So later he celebrated Mass with it, believed it to be the first time the Pope had done so since 1700 years earlier with Sextus II. So that's like huge, right? So it's like they activated the chalice there. Here it is. It's pretty. And they let it be removed twice a year. Now, this is blew my mind, okay? Because it's tied to Holy Thursday. Now, Holy Thursday is really Ascension Day. So this kind of, we got back to Thursday, right? With Pig Night. Okay. So Holy Thursday is also known as Monday, Holy Monday, or Thursday, Monday, or something. I'll go into that. I have a screenshot for it. But it's all when you wash your feet, getting ready to ascend, because your feet are your souls, right? Yeah. So yeah, they wash the feet. So it's in Latin, it's in conina domini, mass. And it's not in the spring when around Easter where they say Christ actually ascends, they changed it. Okay, so I didn't know this, okay, that it was originally in the last Thursday of October, okay, for the celebration of the annual Holy Chalice Festival Mass. But when you look into it, Holy Thursday, it's all to do with Ascension Day. Okay, so they do this, they let it leaves the chapel twice a year to the high altar. One is on Easter and the other is in October. But it only happens here. So here it is, all about this Holy Thursday and the Holy Week, or later on Easter Monday. Okay, so you see how they've split reality here. So did Christ die in October, or did he die in spring around Easter and the moon of the spring and everything? So I'm kind of like, I think they kind of like did a little switcheroo here. Um, and so I started to get into this. Yeah, the Monday, Thursday, the Holy Thursday. Okay, and it's celebrated in Ireland, Scotland, Canada, and United States. Now, this is very important because Trump is with the Scottish Rite. Okay. This is all to do with the Celtic. Okay. And then Canada and United States. And later, the official name used in English by the Catholic Church in England and Wales. Now, a lot of the founding fathers were Welsh, so they would have celebrated this, right? The Holy Thursday. Um, they want it to be at Easter, but it was originally in October. So they're saying here in the Latin books, like way, way back, Feria Quinta de Sina Domini was Thursday of the Supper of the Lord. And then they have the medieval spelling here, and then Sina, and the documents predating 1955 in the decree. Also Monday, Thursday as the English name. Okay, so they changed it. That's what they do. They confuse you through the history. So here, Holy Thursday is a synonymous to Ascension Day. Okay, Ascension Day. So if they're going to stay strictly to, we're following in Jesus's footsteps, they would have us ascend if this is going to happen. Now, I want to let you know the last post that the 17th letter did was Ascension. Okay, that's his last post. So, and all through the movement, I was going, this is about religion. This isn't all about politics, this and then that was the last post. I felt like he was talking to me because I was going on and on about Ascension back in the day. And so the Ascension Day, I'm kind of always like trying to figure out what's the most important day of the year. But I'm starting to realize it's the Holy Thursday, the Ascension Day. And the last Thursday of October. Now, I'm telling you, I'm really thinking it's Halloween. Okay, because Diddy was the Joker on Halloween. And we also have other, oh yeah, River Phoenix died on Halloween. Okay, this is like, it's getting crazy. Okay, so this is why this is so important. Okay, they do these, they celebrate the Jubilee. There's 7 places in the world that celebrate the Holy Grail. Valencia, Santiago de Compostela, Cantabria, Toledo, and Mauricia, Rome, and Jerusalem. There you go, Rome and Jerusalem. That's all you need to know. If they're celebrating in there, this is super important, right? Okay, so. um, into a hat. They have a hat that they call a chalice to the online shop. And it has a sound. You can find out the album of El Grail. Holy is always El, okay? Um, God means El. By the group specializing in the ancient music, the Capella de Mysteries. So there's a sound that they have. Now, if you go into the chapel, look at this is what Diddy has on his back. Okay, he has the 2 angels and the Madonna and Child. So it's like, whoa, there's the 2 angels. See? It's crazy. Oh my God. I just find it all so bizarre. There's also a temple church there in Valencia, and this ties to the Templars. Okay. So anything Templars and the Druids, these are all the timekeepers. Okay. These are all the people that are trying to let the population have the pilgrimage to be able to go to where Jesus was sacrificed, right? To be able to get into the Dome of the Rock. And they were always trying to keep the Crusades going so that they could protect the, just the everyday person that wanted to go visit that site. So the Templars are very, very important. And the Temple Church is there. Now, I'm convinced this all ties to Montreal. Now, the Templars had built a castle on the way to Jerusalem to protect the pilgrims that was called Montreal. Okay, that's the original, the farthest back I can go to find the word Montreal. Okay, and Montreal, there's a book written called The New Jerusalem, and you can go look it up. It's a great book if you want to read it. And it definitely helped me understand the importance of all this, how the French are all tied to this spiritual journey that we're on, this prophesized journey, right? So the Temple Church was constructed in 1761 and 1770. This was exactly around the founding of the United States. It was witness to various attacks and wars. Um, it's been under the direction of this group here since February 2012. Now, when you drink from the chalice, the Holy Grail, right? They often depict everyone holding it with two hands. So I'm starting to go, oh my God, I remember that. That was part of the 17th letter movement. Okay. Because Trump was like, he stopped in the middle of speech and he's like, I need some water. I need some water. He bends down and he comes back and he does this twice, once with a Fiji water. And I did a video on that. I did a video on the Fiji water girl and him drinking the Fiji water because I was like, why is he drinking it like that? Because they made fun of him because it said that they thought he had dementia because he was holding the water with two hands like a small child. Okay. But it's the chalice. It's he's representing drinking from the cup. Okay. So it's just wild. Okay, so then I told you he died, River Phoenix died on October 31st. I do believe he was sacrificed, okay? He wasn't into drugs a lot, but he was hanging out with Flea, okay, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it seems that allegedly most of the superstars in Hollywood have lost someone very close to them, okay? And with kind of like weird circumstances, right? It just seems like there was a pattern with that all through the last few decades with famous people. So River Phoenix. Now, his parents kind of grew up in like they were in a cult. They were kind of like off-gridders, they basically lived a simple life on the farm. And they just were vegetarians back, and they didn't want to kill any animals and stuff like that. They said, I was listening to a video with them, and they said they named him after the river in this novel called Siddhartha novel. Okay, it's a Buddhist book and his that's why he was named River, and his last name is Phoenix. But I really think he was targeted because of his name, okay? Because he's very it is spiritual, okay? And it's tied to the water pouring out of Aquarius, right? That's the river. So he was at the Viper Room, and this is really weird. Okay, this is like bizarro. Okay, he's at the Viper Room with Johnny Depp and Flea and back in 1993. So this is 3 years before Tupac Shakur was killed. So he's also a musician, right? He's a great actor, River Phoenix, but he was also his true passion was music. Okay, so he's there and he's like not feeling well, right? He'd taken some, you know, um, psychedelic drugs, and he says to his friend, like, I'm tripping and I think I'm gonna overdose. Like, something's going wrong here. And so, his friend says, oh no, chill out, whatever. And then he's like, no, 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 I gotta get out. So he goes outside. But what's weird is Flea, it wasn't the Red Hot Chili Peppers then, it was just Flea and some other guys. And they were playing this song called Michael Stipe. Okay. Now he's the lead singer in REM. Okay. So they're singing a song about him. And I think Phoenix was supposed to get up on stage and play as well, but he didn't. Okay. So he was hanging out with this in the book, The Monsters. Bob Foster wrote that River Phoenix and Fusiki, he was, I think, friends with Flea, this guy. And they had spent the days preceding doing a drug binge. So they were doing cocaine and heroin without sleeping for days. So he got into the heavy drugs, but there was something else in the drug, which seems to be a very common theme through the Diddy world, allegedly. Okay, that's what he's being accused of. This is the one of the verses I took out of the song. This is weird, right? So they're singing, okay, this song, Michael Stipes, but the lyric has River Phoenix in it. And he's outside passing out and dying as they're singing. So this is a ritual and it's happening on the eve of Halloween. Okay, because it was Saturday night on October 30th, but he died like just after midnight. So he says in the lyric, I finally talked to Michael Stipe, but I didn't get to see his car. Him and River Phoenix were leaving on the road tomorrow. I finally met old Michael that day up in Laurel County way. Neil said it was full of famous stars. Hell, I was driving Martin Landar's car. Okay. Isn't that weird that that was being sung when he's dying outside? So, yeah, there's a film, remember River Phoenix, the character play. Oh, this is a film that River Phoenix was in. The character played by Dan Aykroyd wears a LK Attic t-shirt on the scene. Yeah, the film Sneakers, whose cast includes LK Attic. That was music that River had made, this album. On December 2018, Rain Phoenix announced that's his sister. Her name's Rain. So there's like, like there's river and then there's rain. So it's all to do with water. And that's what I'm saying. Everything's about water right now because Saturn is on the water in Aquarius. Okay, so um, on December 2018, Rain Phoenix announced on Instagram that Aleka's Attic singles would be released in 2019, with the album being released eventually. Then, the Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist Flea is appearing on two unreleased Electric Attic songs to mark River Phoenix's 50th birthday. Now, they like the number 5 because it's tied to Venus. Okay, so that's weird, right? So Flea is on there, even though Flea was actually jumped off the stage when he found out that River Phoenix wasn't doing well that night, and he was with him in the ambulance. He jumped into the ambulance with him. Okay, so according to Gibby Haynes, they were performing the song Michael Stipe while Phoenix was outside the venue with having seizures on the sidewalk. When the news filtered through the club, Flea left the stage and rushed outside. By the time the paramedics had arrived on the scene and found Phoenix in apparent cardiac arrest, Flea accompanied him to Cedar-Sinai Medical Center. But attempts to resurrect Phoenix at the hospital were unsuccessful. He was pronounced dead at 1:51 on October 31st at the age of 23. It's all to do about Halloween, and it's actually ties to the Madonna, okay, in France. I got to get to that. Okay, so anyhow, after Phoenix's death, the club became a makeshift shrine for fans and mourners, leaving flowers, pictures, candles on the sidewalk, graffiti. And Johnny Depp, the club remained closed for a week. And Depp continued to close the club every year on October 31st until selling his share in 2004, because Johnny Depp bought the Viper Club because of this, because he was there. Okay. So I don't know if it was like Flea that did it or Johnny Depp. I'm assuming this is all about Flea. Okay. And this is partly why Flea, um, and because that's all tied to Donald Trump in the Back to the Future movie. And then we also have, um, them Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. They're all singing at the closing ceremonies of the Paris Olympics. It's all tied to France, okay, and the Madonna. Ah, the Black Madonna. So even in the X-Men movies, they have a song called The Dark Phoenix, and this is all about us becoming the Phoenix and ascending. Okay, so that's why they like the word Phoenix and they like the word River Phoenix because it's very symbolic to Ascension. Now, this is what's blew my mind. Okay, you don't think this is not a coincidence. Okay, so the last rally that Trump and Harris did was in Arizona in phoenix on Halloween. Okay. So it's all ritual to the dates. Okay. Because it's so important that it gets rebalanced. Okay. So they're all fighting over the energy of that day. Okay. And what it means. So yeah. So in the Catholic religion, okay, one of the feast days is the Madonna of the world, and it's October 31st. So Mary is the earthly principle of love that leads to the heavenly principle of love. Now, Diddy calls himself love. Okay. That's his one of his new names, you know. So the relation between her and God is something like the relation between rain and the earth. Do you see? It's all about the rain and the water. Okay. Um, Rain falls from heaven, but the earth produces it. Divinity comes from heaven, but the human nature of God, the Son, comes from her. If we speak of Mother Earth, since it gives life through heaven's gift of the Son, then why not also recognize the Madonna of the world, since she gives the eternal light of God? Okay, so Mary, Madonna of the world, exists where Christ is not yet, where the mystical body is not yet visible, the ascension body. For the people who suffer from fear, the fear of evil spirits, and for the modern man who lives in dread, the dread that comes from loss of faith, the answer must be, look at the woman. Look at the woman. She will lead you to God. There are over 2 million people of whom the gospel of Jesus Christ is forbidden to be preached. No ministries are allowed in their lands. 37 or more out of every 100 people in the world are under tyranny of communism. These people, along with the Buddhists and pagans in general, cannot say our Father because God is not a father unless he has a son. But they can say Hail Mary. That's the song that Tupac has on his album. And then when he did the Coachella, he sang Hail Mary because they believe in the ideal woman. Jesus may not yet be given an inn in Bethlehem, but Mary is among them, preparing them for grace. Excuse me. She is grace where there is no grace. She is the Advent where there is no Christmas. In the lands where virgins are venerated, or where one lady is set above all ladies. Excuse me, the ground is fertile for accepting the woman as the prelude for embracing Christ. Where there is the presence of Jesus, there is also the presence of his mother, as there are among us who have faith. But where there is absence of Jesus, either there is ignorance or wickedness, there is still the presence of Mary, as she filled up the gap between the Ascension and the Pentecost. Now, there's the 2 days of the Holy excuse me, of the Holy Week. Okay, the the October Ascension Day, and then the Pentecost, which is to do with Easter. So she is filling. Well, they're saying Easter is Ascension, right? They're saying the dates between that and that, but I see it as like Ascension is now in October for me. Okay, this is like they're not telling us the whole truth here. So she is filling up the gap between the ethical systems of the East and the incorporation into the mystical body of the divine Son. Mary is the fertile soil from which, in God's appointed time, the faith will flourish and bloom in the East and all over the world, because the East is where the sun rises from. Though compared to the total population, there are few tabernacle lamps in certain lands, yet Mary is there. Mary is, too, among millions in our land, and to all who are fearful, sad, and frustrated, we beg all, pray to her. Never was it known that anyone who fled to her protection or sought her insertion was left unaided. Though she is the Madonna of the world, she still is my lady, our lady. If there is war again, it will be because we have not called on that lady to whom God gave power to crush the red cobras of the night. Mary, Mother of Peace, Madonna of the world, pray for us. It's like, whoa. Okay, so Hail Mary. Yeah, we're talking about Ascension Day, Halloween. Okay, so in France, just outside of Paris, there's a town called Chartres, Our Lady of the Saint Fort Chartres. Okay, and check this out. It was originally a yearly meeting place for the Druids. The Roman general Julius Caesar wrote that the area around the Chartres in the land belonging to the Carnuts were the yearly meeting place of the Druids. It was said that since prehistoric times, they assembled there from all over Western Europe. Okay. Here they're saying in the year 1116, a chorister having fallen into the well at St. Fort, which is the Church of Chartres, was saved by Our Lady. All the time that he was in the well, he heard the angels answering the public prayers, which were chanted in the church, whence the custom arose at Chartres that the choir never answer aloud to Dominus Vobiscum, chanted at High Mass and the canonical hours. Canonical hours. So the Cathedral of Chartres was built entirely upon a large subterranean crypt, which dates back to the 11th century. The crypt is unusually large, which accounts for a wide nave of the present Chartres cathedral. Few people who visit the cathedral ever think to enter the crypt, though it is there in the depths beneath the famous cathedral that one can see the foundation of the great pillars that uphold the soaring heights of the nave, and also where the well of St. Fort is located. So somebody fell in the well and then they heard the singing and then, yeah. But this is Halloween, okay? So yeah, the Madonna of the world, it's all tied to Halloween. Okay, so yeah. And then there's a statue there of the Black Madonna. So they found there a statue of a woman seated on a throne with a child on her knee, a statue that has been venerated by the Druids. It appears that they were aware of Isaiah's prophecy that a virgin would conceive and bear a son. The statue was described by the 17th century thus the virgin sits on a chair. Now, do you remember Beyonce doing the Grammy Awards and she's on a chair and she's like acting like she's the Madonna? Right? And she's giving birth and she's pregnant and there's a whole ritual going on. But this is all tied to Virgo because Virgo, if you look at the constellation, when you join the stars together, it shapes a chair. So she sits on the chair. Her son sits on their knees and he gives the sign of blessing with his right hand. In his left hand, he holds an orb. He is bareheaded and his hair is quite short. He wears a close-fitted robe girdled with a belt. His face, hands, and feet are bare, and they are shining gray ebony color. So yeah, she's dressed, she's 29 inches tall. The eyes of the divine child were open, while the Madonna's eyes were closed. The Druids intended by this device to signify that faith was still in darkness and that she whom they worship was not yet born. But the eyes of the child whom she is in fullness of time should supernaturally conceive and bear were open, for he was without beginning and without end, the spectator of all time and all existence. The statue survived the centuries until the year 1793. This is just after the founding of the United States, when it was burned during the reign of terror of the French Revolution. Now, what was that all about? That was because the British were so upset at the French for funding the War of Independence in the United States that they created a political scenario there that turned against the monarchy. And then, the French Revolution where they chopped off Marie Antoinette's head and the king and killed their kids. And, it was just horrific. So many people were like guillotined. the people rose up to defend the cathedral, and so the Cathedral of Chartres was not destroyed, although the crypt was used as a warehouse until the year 1857. The statue was then replaced with a copy that can currently be seen at the crypt. So yeah, so I see this is why I get so like crazy about when people say Druids are pagans, they're anti-Jesus. Are you kidding me? They were worshiping the Madonna, okay, back in the 11th century. Okay, so, it's like, we don't know our history, like really. So the Lady of Chartres, here she is. This is the statue that the Druids were worshiping. And then they built the cathedral over top of it. Okay, so the orb is there. Now there's a famous painting like this too, right? When he's got the two fingers up for peace. Well, what is it? That's the Boy Scout and the Girl Scout. I don't know if you guys were in Girl Scouts, and that's the symbol you used. Okay, so, and you were learning all about nature, how to survive out in the woods. Okay, so, uh, you know, yeah, you got to connect with Mother Earth. She'll keep you going. Okay, it's not your hydro bill that'll keep you going. It's your knowledge of how to work with nature. So, yeah, this is crazy. I have to drop the link of this video in the box, and oh my God, this is crazy. This blew my mind. Okay. Yeah, I've been talking about the magnetic pole reversal for quite a while now, and what that's going to do. And there's this video here of a scientist with, I think it was Harvard, and they realize that this is going to happen now. They're not going to put it in the mainstream news, but yeah, this is basically going to happen now. They're talking about when this happens, or if we get a CME or whatever from the sun, that the power grid's going to go out. And I've been saying this for years, right? But what's so fascinating about this video is they're like, the only place that is protected from not their power going out is Quebec. Okay, because we had this happen in 1989 when the power grid went down from a coronal mass ejection, a CME, and it took down the power grid, and we had aurora borealis could be seen. I think it was in Texas and Florida from the South Pole, and we could see the aurora borealis here at the North Pole. And so, yeah, so they fixed it. So, yeah, maybe it is the New Jerusalem, Montreal, right? You have to go read the seven fire prophecies, the native prophecies of Montreal. Okay, you'll understand this goes through the native culture, if you want to call it paganism, because they were aboriginals, and then how they converted them to Christianity, but what their prophecies were about. Okay, and the seven fire prophecies is a seven locations that they have to journey, but they start and begin with Montreal. And they always say that North America is Turtle Island, but I'm convinced Montreal is Turtle Island because it's like a big mountain in the middle of the St. Lawrence in the water. Okay, it's the turtle, which is Mother Earth in the native culture. So yeah, I'm just, if I put so much of this all in, like a little bit in my book about all this, how it's all to do with Mary. Okay, everything's to do with Mary. And I'm trying to like figure out the date. But now that I understand that, you know, October 31st is a very important date. So I'm like, but it should be on a Thursday, right? So the next Thursday, October 31st, it's happening this year. It happened on Thursday, I believe. But the next time is in 2030 that this happens. Number 23, remember how many movies is all about number 23? So I'm like, very interesting. That's all I can say. But yeah, so a lot more stuff's going to be going on about water. And I think all about Trump starting to talk about the water in Canada and the water filtration places and how they're being hacked now. And now we have border stuff going on here. So there's a lot going on, but I'm convinced that Quebec will trade directly with the United States and not do what the rest of Canada is doing. Our prime minister, I'm sorry, our premier just said that he wants to do that because of the NAFTA with Mexico and everything. He just wants to trade directly with the United States. I have a feeling there's going to be starting to come like an open trade going on with Quebec and United States because of this all having to be rebalanced. There was two times where they tried to come up and free Montreal, the U.S. Patriots. Um, One was called the Battle of Chateauguay, and the other one was called the Lower Canada Rebellion, and it happened in Beauharnois. And there's this giant hydro dam there. It's one of the biggest ones in the world. And, hydro is really important, especially when the grid's not down. Okay. And if this is the only one that's protected, I'm sure Trump will be very interested in it. Okay, so I also know that when you have border problems, security issues, that a country is allowed to invade the other country for 200 kilometers. Um, and that would include Montreal and that hydro dam. So I'm kind of like, whoa, I have a feeling something like that's going to go down. But that's just my speculating. But anyhow, it's exciting times, and I'll do another video all again on Diddy because it's so crazy, his trial and what's going on now with his bail hearings. And um, yeah, it's just nuts. So I'll put a link in for a girl that I'm listening to. I think her name is a Suspicious Witness, or um, yeah, she's got great stuff, and she posts really quickly, and she's a lawyer, and she goes in and shows you everything that's happening with his trial and all the victims and what they're saying happened to them. It's really crazy. So it's an ongoing drama because his trial is in May. So yeah, that's about it. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're doing the Trump dance. I think a lot of things will be coming, into light even more and more. And it does feel like we're in an alternative timeline. I just wanted to correct something. I realized I said Valencia was in Italy, and it's actually in Spain. And also the tattoo of Diddy was actually, he posted it on Donald Trump's birthday. And Barack Obama's birthday is actually August 4th, not the 14th, like I had quoted. So I just wanted to correct myself there. And please like and subscribe. Please help me get this information out. I think in the overall, it helps people understand what special times we were in. And it's not about taking, so much like fear and worrying about what's happening. It's really divine, and you just have to have faith. And that's really what this is all about, and work on raising people up instead of bringing them down. So this message that I'm trying to always bring out and all the time I put into it, all I need you guys to do is hit the like and subscribe button and share these videos, and I am forever grateful to you all. Thank you so much for listening and taking the time. Take care.